They'll never sell a drill press like this again. In the 1940s, they were everywhere, and they're still running in workshops across America to this day. So, why can't they make them like this anymore? To understand this, today we're taking a deep dive into this original 1948 Atlas drill press catalog. To put this into context, you have to think about the culture of the American workshop in the 1940s. This was an era where learning how to safely and properly use machinery was a fundamental part of a young person's education. This was a time when shop class was practically a rite of passage. You were taught by strict, experienced instructors who made sure you understood the gravity of what you were doing. Safety wasn't built into the machine with plastic guards and sensors. Safety was built into you through rigorous training. You had to prove you understood the tool before you were even allowed to turn it on. And the result was a generation of people that had a deeply ingrained respect for tools. They knew these heavy cast iron machines were incredibly capable, but also knew that these machines wouldn't forgive a moment of distraction. And to that point, there's no denying that there were features on these 1948 models that made them significantly more dangerous than their modern equivalents. But before we get into that, let's take a look at what made these machines so great. At first glance, just by looking at all of the massive cast iron parts, you can already tell that these are robust machines. They clearly didn't skimp on material, but as we peel back the layers of this catalog, you realize this was only half the story. They weren't just built like tanks, they were also highly accurate and efficient. Their exceptional smoothness, long life, and accuracy are the result of their rugged construction combined with their unique floating drive, spindle-bearing design. Housed within the rigid and fully enclosed head of the drill press, the drive mechanism is comprised of a 6-splined pulley that was mounted on an independent tubular steel spindle and supported at the head by 2 deep-grooved SKF ball bearings. And below, the precision ground steel quill is supported by 2 widely spaced ball bearings that float the spindle free from the quill. This design ensures that all turning power is only transmitted to the spindle, and as a result, all belt pull is taken to the head through the drive unit, nearly completely eliminating vibration, while also maintaining a high level of accuracy. So, from looking at this design, it's easy to understand how Atlas succeeded in building one of the most precise and functional drill presses of its time. But as you look closer at these diagrams, you start to notice what isn't there. Did they completely ignore operator safety? Or did safe just mean something entirely different in 1948? For starters, you have exposed belts and pulleys. While there was sometimes a rudimentary guard on top, a lot of the moving parts were right out in the open, just waiting to catch a loose sleeve or a stray piece of hair. And if you thought a single exposed pulley was intimidating, look at these industrial gang drills. 4 massive, unsafe drill presses bolted together into one massive tool. It was an absolute powerhouse for a production line, but it required total concentration. Then there's the switch. Instead of a large, high-visibility, easy-to-hit paddle switch on the front like we have today, the Atlas featured a small toggle switch, often tucked away behind the lever arm, or built directly into the head casing. If a bit caught your workpiece and started spinning it out of control, you had to reach past the danger zone just to turn the machine off. And take a look at the motor mount. Belt tension was maintained by a simple, small set screw. If that slipped while the machine was under a heavy load, things could get unpredictable very quickly. And if you look at the accessory pages, you'll see the option for foot pedal-driven setups. While you can't beat the convenience of a foot-powered switch, in the wrong hands, they can be highly dangerous. But the fact is, Atlas didn't intentionally disregard safety when they designed these machines. And, as a matter of fact, in 1948, they were state-of-the-art. These drill presses had actually come a very long way from their predecessors. Think about some of the older drill press designs from the turn of the century. Those old line shaft machines were belt-driven from the ceiling, completely open, with massive flat belts, and absolutely no stops or guards anywhere. It was just you against a chuck, spinning at dangerously high speeds. And even when dedicated electric motors for drill presses first came to town, there typically wouldn't even be an on-off switch directly on the machine. You would have to reach around to the back of the motor itself, or find some other external switch, just to cut the power in an emergency. Compared to that, the 1948 Atlas was a modern marvel of safety and convenience. The fact is, while there might be safer, fully enclosed options with easily accessible on-off switches on the market today, these vintage Atlas drill presses are still fantastic tools. They were built with heavy cast iron and machined with a level of precision meant to last for generations. And they have. They aren't inherently bad machines. You just need to know what you're doing. You need to have the proper training, respect the exposed moving parts, and never take the tool for granted. If you can do that, an Atlas drill press will still outdrill almost anything you can buy at a big box store today. And now, as we near the end of this catalog, we get to take a look at their 1948 price sheet. While these weren't the highest end machines on the market, they were built to a very high standard, and their price reflected that. The most budget-friendly model in this catalog was their 15-inch benchtop drill press, which came in at $74.50. And for the floor model, that could cost another $10. Plus the cost of a motor, which would set you back another $30 to $40, depending on the specs. But it was an investment in a machine that was guaranteed to outlive the person who bought it. You weren't buying a disposable tool, you were buying a permanent fixture for your shop that would live on for generations as a family heirloom. And at the high end, the most impressive production tool in this catalog is their 4-spindle drill press. In 1948, this 4-headed beast would set you back an astounding $505, and that didn't even include the 4 electric motors. $1,000 in 1948 was a small fortune, but this machine wasn't for the hobbyist. In those days, a high price tag bought you heavy iron and high performance, not more plastic guards and safety features. Manufacturers in this era didn't see the operator as someone to be protected, but as someone to be empowered. They assumed that if you were running a machine this powerful, you had already been through the rigors of a proper shop education. And so, it's a shame that these days school shop classes have become a rarity, because that's where we learned the discipline, the focus, and the fundamental respect these machines demand. Without that training, a lot of people see these old tools as hazards, but for those who know, these are some of the best machines that money can buy. And so, if you find one of these old, heavy-duty cast iron beasts at a garage sale or on Marketplace, don't hesitate. Go and buy it. It'll serve you well. And the next generations too. Just remember to give them the respect they deserve. If you still have some of these old machines in your shop, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing for more vintage tool history posted every week. And let me know if there's another vintage tool catalog that you would like to see featured next.